Hi, I'm Lippincott. Welcome to part 3 of Rhythm is Everything. If you haven't seen parts 1 and 2, I suggest you go back and check those out first, where we talked about some of the basics of rhythm and getting to know each place in the measure of 4/4 time where the eighth notes are, everything about eighth note triplets and quarter note triplets, displaced quarter note triplets. Now we're going to get into today half note triplets. So when we were talking about quarter note triplets, we were putting accents on every other eighth note triplet, or grouping them together in groups of 2, right? Triplet, 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 triplet. Half note triplets are going to be twice that length, so I'm going to put an accent every 4 eighth note triplets. Triplet, 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 right? I put an accent every 4 triplets. Still ends up, just like with quarter note triplets, always being the same hand. In that case, I started with my left hand, and I ended up putting an accent on the downbeat of beat 1, on the second triplet of beat 2, and on the third triplet of beat 3. Remember, we talked about that little pattern that happens of 1-3-2, 1-3-2 with quarter note triplets. With half note triplets, it's the opposite. It's 1-2-3. The first triplet of beat 1, second triplet of beat 2, third triplet of beat 3. Then, of course, beat 4 is blank, because we have 3 notes to get past until we get to the next beginning of the cycle on first triplet of the next bar. So now I'll turn on my metronome, quarter note equals 80, with the downbeat of each measure delineated with a different sound, as I always recommend people practice with a metronome. Start my eighth note triplets going, and then I'm going to put these accents where they go for half note triplets. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So, first of all, if you ever had to play half note triplets, you see the 3 half notes in the bar with the little bracket underneath and 3. Oh boy, how do I feel that? It's subdivided all the way down into eighth note triplets, group them together in groups of 4, and you've got your accurate half note triplets. Okay, great. We got that information. Now what do we do with it? Well, we could actually improvise using half note triplets. 1, 2, 3, 4. But that's pretty slow, unless you're at a really fast tempo. But one of the things that I could do with that, first of all, I could play chords, and that would make things sound a little more interesting. And of course, I'll put on my backing track here, because it's going to be, again, this is a D, just a simple D Dorian backing track. And I'm going to play some chords with half note triplets. Experimenting with the different articulations, short and long as well. Okay, so fair enough, but that, you know, there's only so much I can do with that, right? I mean, it's still pretty slow, and it would kind of interrupt the flow of eighth note lines if I stuck a bunch of half note triplets in there. It might be nice for a special effect. But here's something I suggest doing that you can get started with right away, is think of the way that we got to those half note triplets was by grouping eighth note triplets in groups of 4. So if I play 4 eighth note triplets in a row, and then I play another 4 eighth note triplets in a row, and another one, I'll have basically the implication of half note triplets, especially if I play a repeated idea. So I'm going to take a 4-note D minor 7 arpeggio, and I'm going to play those as eighth note triplets. Triplet, 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 triplet. So I'm grouping them together in groups of 4, even though the actual triplets are 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But our ear picks up on this being the beginning of each one of those cycles. So let's see what that sounds like. Now I'll try moving it around a little bit. So just playing around with that idea, then I started using some other groupings of 4 notes, stepwise or arpeggios, different kinds of ways of grouping them together, groups of 4. And that is a little bit more of a practical way of getting across that sound. One of my biggest heroes, Bill Evans, liked to use that, to get that effect. Okay, now let's talk about displacing the half-note triplets. Now, because they're much farther apart, there's groups of 4 of them, unlike the quarter-note triplets where we only had 1 displacement. If we displaced it a second time, we just get back where we started. Now we're actually going to have 3 possible displacements. So the first one is just the regular one where we start on the first triplet of beat 1. Now if we displace everything over by 1 triplet, we've moved to the second triplet of beat 1. The next accent happens on the third triplet of beat 2. Beat 3 has nothing, and then beat 4 has the first triplet. Notice that we've still got one of each. We've still got one beat that has the first triplet, one beat that has the second, one beat that has the third, and one blank beat. And they're still in order. It's just that now the first triplet is all the way over on beat 4, and then if we keep cycling back around, then 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and so forth. Okay, let's see what that one sounds like with our slow metronome. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now before, when I was playing the non-displaced half-note triplets, every accent was on my left hand, because that was where my starting hand, since I'm left-handed. This time, it's shifted over to every accent being on my right hand. Okay, now if I displace it yet again, now if you look at the musical example, it says third triplet of 1. So I'm starting with the third triplet of beat 1. Third triplet of 1, next is the downbeat, beat 2 is left blank, downbeat of beat 3, or first triplet, and then second triplet of beat 4. Let's see what that one sounds like. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I'm back to all the left hand being where the accents go. Then finally, my last displacement, beat 1 is left empty, first triplet of beat 2, second triplet of beat 3, third triplet of beat 4, and that sounds like this. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so those are the 4 half-note triplet displacements. All well and good, great, cool. Okay, what do we do with it? Well, again, these can be a little bit awkward to actually play just that rhythm by itself, but here's kind of a cool trick. If you take that idea that I showed you with a group of 4 notes, if I get that going over the groove, if I repeat the bottom note at any point, play 2 of them, but keep the cycle going, I'm actually going to displace it by an 8th note triplet. 3, 4. Now it's displaced by 1/8 note triplet. I'll do it again. Now I'm in the second displacement. Now I'm on the last displacement. And finally I'll do it again and I'll get back where we started. Downbeat. So I'm back where I started with the one of the D's being on beat 1. Now let's see what happens if we apply that to the backing track doing some improvising. Now keep in mind, as I was going through there, I didn't always know exactly which displacement I was on. What's more important is that I knew where the downbeat was and where I was in the bar. I didn't have the intellectual ability to say, okay, now that's the second triplet of beat 2 that I'm starting on or whatever. I was just making sure that I knew where I was in the time, and I knew that every time I repeated a note that I was shifting one over. Okay, one other kind of trick that I can do with that is, rather than the really obvious repeating a note, what if I just played it as 2/8 note triplets value but only struck the note once? So instead of triplet, 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 what if I did this? Triplet, triplet, triplet. And that can also get me that displacement. That might sound something like this. So with that, you get a little bit more flexibility, and of course I was getting a little bit fancier with the chord voicings or the arpeggios that I was playing. And at one point, I was displacing the triplets on every cycle through. Which creates an even more complex implication of groupings of 5/8 note triplets. Now, we've just kind of scratched the surface here of what's possible with getting rhythmic mastery. And if you're curious to get more into this, I would recommend checking out my class on Mike's Masterclasses at mikesmasterclasses.com called Rhythm Workshop. I talk about all these things that we've talked about in Rhythm is Everything and get into even more detail, plus a whole bunch of other possible things that you can do to get real solid with your rhythm. So I really hope that the stuff we talked about in these 3 classes has been useful to somebody, and as useful as it's been to me to know how to work on this stuff. I really feel like it transformed my playing quite a bit and really helped my overall musicianship, not just specifically my rhythmic sense. And it's my hope that there can be some people out there that can get the same benefit from it. So it's been great being able to present this for you, and I hope to see you again.